Namaskar, I love you. A little bit of Kannada is okay, I suppose. So, according to the program schedule given, I think Ananthoo would take the mic now. Ananthoo has a huge spectrum of work and the complete work. Yeah, I think so. With working with farmers up to the consumers.
You already told.
Yeah, but I'm reminding, reinforcing it, Ananthoo. So you can, and your subject would be? Farmers
Put you for this.
clothing, introspection and interrogation.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I had the advantage of starting with food. So whenever there was a gathering like this, I would start with some startling facts. Do you know what is there in your chocolates? It was very easy. Do you know how to make a strawberry milkshake? Do you smoke? Many of them will look at me. But do you brush your teeth? Everybody is there. Then I say, that's worse than smoking. You have 3 carcinogens there, higher than compared to the nicotine in your smoke, basically. So they are all up. We don't let them sleep, you know. So slowly the fear-mongering happens, and then we slowly come into what is the alternate, where is the food, and because it's also a very easy selfish thing. There is poison in your plate. Be careful, you'll get cancer. They're all ready to listen. If I were somebody like Vinod and trying to save the commons or lakes, like Bhargavi, we have a problem. People are not bothered. Now, from there we slowly treaded into clothing, which was even worse. Very tough. I didn't know what to tell people to scaremonger. That was my style. So where do I start? So slowly started reading. So I thought I would also throw some numbers at you. By any chance, do you know which is the most polluting industry or the second most polluting industry in the world? Textiles. Which is the first? I know. You know the answer because I framed the question that way. Because this session is about that. That's why I asked you the first. So it's oil. Though with oil, there are 350 million barrels of oil used only in textile every year. And we basically throw away some 500 billion gallons of water every year just in processing of these textiles. We have some 8,000 toxic chemicals. 72% of them are azo-based, lead-based. Chemical dyes used for textiles. We have that number, I forgot, just a minute. There's so many astounding numbers, you know. 200, I mean, this is something unbelievable. As I read, I had to go back again and again and check somewhere. I can't also throw numbers just like that and get away, you know. It's not fair. Though no numbers are true. Most numbers we'll have to take from government. They never tell you the truth. But still, for example, if I ask you how many farmers committed suicide in the last 15 years or 17 years, where would you go and see? National Crime Record Bureau. How is that number true? How can that ever be true? That's run by the government. So they don't record every farm suicide as a farm suicide. And most women, except 4% of the women, don't even have the land in their name. If they committed suicide, it doesn't even count. And if the local police station doesn't record it as a suicide, it doesn't even count. Or if somebody is like Jayalalitha is ruling you, she suddenly decides from next year onwards, we should not show farm suicides in our state. So suddenly from one year to another, it became 0 in our state, where there was 6%. And we all, with the lens, looked around, other 6%. So we know 6% is the farm suicide. So it's like that. But still, we will have to take data, save data, take it and bring it. It is a hard work, but still. And that's where it's time we have to understand them. The numbers are important for that matter, though they make some interesting, intriguing, very many times disturbing facts. So I'm just telling you about the other thing was 200,000 tons of unbounded synthetic dyes. Does it convey any meaning? Unbounded. Do you know what? We have been producing so much for coloring, basically because of the human greed. We just thought the other sets would probably only like the colors that I would want to wear at the cost of ecology, at the cost of environment, at the cost of life, livelihoods, civilization, river, everything. And I still wanted to impress her, so I had a chemical dyeing done. But there were so much that was produced, and so many 100,000 of them not used for the purpose that it was produced for, and thrown away. And these are not biodegradable at all. And that is why they are always there in the air, in the soil, in our waterways, in water and everywhere, and always coming back to us. Coming back to us literally in many ways, including cancer. So what can we do? And what is it? Do we need to understand it more? This is just a part of dying. Incidentally, what is the spelling for dying?
DYIA.
That's what. English is an intelligent language actually for the fools. So you can spell it however you want, but it was literally DYING. Rivers would die, earth would die, civilizations would die, people would die, livelihoods would die. That's what is happening in Erode or Tirupur for that matter. For that matter, what percentage of the clothing that USA wears do you think is made in USA? Some number, percentage, so only 100 options.
2%.
This one, you shouldn't ask me. Bang on, 2%. 98% comes from outside. That's because they learned the best thing. Outsource your sins and pollution to others. So 80% of the dying for the Western world happens in the Eastern worlds. Predominantly in Erode, in South Tamil Nadu and in Bangladesh, because you can die for them. Yes. It is, yeah?
Population control.
Oh yeah, that's right. But ecology also died. The river died. See, the Noyal River in Erode is brackish, foaming every day. My friend and his father came from Europe, wanted to settle up somewhere. They were from that Congo land, so they went and bought a land in Erode, built a house, and then found out when they went in 5 meters down, the water was black and brackish, which they could not even use for just to their coconut grow. Forget drinking or potability or anything else. You just can't. And that was because all of us wanted to impress our other sets here. Basically because we wanted to wear those very flamboyant colors. That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we are doing on behalf of a rich country which wants to exploit us, not only the ecology and the economy here, showing some carrot, but also exploiting the labor, the human resources also, not just the natural resources. We also should understand that these people work in unworkable conditions and are always exposed to unworkable conditions, and because of which they fall for the ailment and they don't even have the money to handle this carcinogens which causes the cancer, and they don't have the money or the wherewithal to handle those diseases later on. So all these are because a whole lot of us are sitting somewhere else, not even bothered about what is happening, but I want this color, I want this. Maybe we are just 500 kilometers away from Erode. If you were 5,000 kilometers away, you would even indulge better. That's what the Western world does. They have something called a Friday wear, a party wear, only for one day. How do you afford it? Because you can get it for $2, $3 for this. How do they afford it? Because a woman in Bangladesh would work for 18 hours for $1 a day. Or somewhere in South Tamil Nadu would be working like that. So that is again exploitation. So exploitation of the environment, ecology, and human always has been happening, and that's also a big problem around us. So textile has to be understood every wise. Economical, ecological, political, social. If we don't respond to it at each level, we all have a huge problem, and what we leave behind is like those unbounded dice. That's our gift to the next generation, of not even using it. My similar analogy for food would be the pesticides. We all know about pesticides, that they cause cancer. We all know all that for sure. But still we will go and buy the same thing. We all know apple grows in higher altitudes and it can be harvested only once a year, but we want all the 365 days. How is it coming? We don't care. And all the pesticides used. But of all the pesticides that are sprayed, what is it sprayed for? Pesticide. Sprayed for? To kill pests. Why should we kill pests?
More production.
Of? Okay, increasing yield. Because you think they are your competitors. First misplaced idea. They are not our competitors, and all pests are not your competitors. If at all, if they were eating up your food, all that, I'll forgive for all those mistakes that we do. And still you're spraying this much. Of that, What is the target, by the way, for the pesticide that we are spraying? What was the target? Huh? Pests, yeah, fantastic. You are offered a PhD for that. What percentage of the pesticide that we are spraying, the humanity with all its intelligence, falls on the target, the pest? Any idea? Now we will all fail, including Prasad Bidapa. Yes, seriously, I want. This time I am not going to. At least 3 numbers I want.
I think 10.
10. 0.1. 1. It's 0.01%. So where does the 99.99% goes? So was it for the pests? That's why you have so many illness. That's exactly what's happening in textiles. Also, we just do not care, we don't bother what's happening to us and how it is made. So 70 to 80% of our clothing is also made with synthetic basically. And what happens to them? Have you ever bothered about end of life? Forget of humans, of the products that you use. Will it biodegrade? Will it become soil? Or will it become mountains of landfill, which will never biodegrade for you? If you were crossing Noida, outside Delhi, you would see 2 huge mountains. You would really be fooled to think they are real mountains or hills. No, they are mountains of clothing wastage, textile wastage from those textile industries just there. So one of it even a couple of months back caught fire, basically. Still no way, by the way. So that is the reality. So the amount of garments we are producing, the way we are producing, I was just talking about only the color here, correct? I'm not talking about, for example, if you were wanting natural fiber, if you were to grow cotton, for example, cotton is grown only in 5% of the agricultural land in India. So how much of the total pesticide that is used, sold in India is being used on this 5% of the land? Any guess? 98. We have a long way to go. Good. 55% of the pesticides used in India is used for this 5% of the land where cotton is grown. We were also talking about, I just passingly mentioned about the farm suicide, which is a shame on humanity and all of us. In the last 17 years, more than 310,000 farmers committed suicide, just recorded by the government of India, which means it should be more than that, which means for every 20 minutes there has been a farm suicide. The Annadatas have been dying for lack of food or money or something else that we have created for them. Okay. If most of them have consumed the pesticides, basically, to kill themselves. Why did they stop it? Yeah.
How you want to scare people and
Yeah.
scare
So we are talking about this the farm suicides, right? I was talking to you about 3 lakh in the last 17 years. Of that, 70% of the farm suicides have been happening in cotton belts. 5% that is growing cotton of the total. A small percentage of the farmers that are there, 70% of the farm suicides in India is in the cotton belts. So, unwittingly, unknowingly, because we are not bothered, it's just sheer nonchalance and alienation from our side, because we don't even understand what goes behind our textiles, what is happening to the dresses that we wear. We are sinning along with the West, because we are also thinking along with them. That's what is being peddled to us as development. That's what is peddled to us as fashion. That's what is peddled to us as livelihood. That's what is peddled to us as style and fashion. So basically, why is it important to think of all this? The introspection, these interrogations have to come from within. That's the best way, that's the only way to clean up. How many more minutes I have?
1 minute.
1 minute. A lot of time. Please don't. So, the introspection and is very important, and as long as it happens from within, it's better. Because the moment you are from an oil industry, if you were talking at textile, they will immediately ask you, what about your industry? If you have a fruit, they will ask, how many chemicals are you using? How many? For just food processing or packaged food uses 18,000 chemicals. And 80,000 chemicals. And for the cosmetic, 18,000 chemicals. Of both, only 2% have been tested around the world. So they will immediately turn around and ask you, what is this? What has happened to that? What is your food industry doing? What is this industry doing? What is that industry doing? So the introspection has to come from within. So we all have to look up and ask what is happening in our textiles, what is happening in our huge bills on one side. The other side is what is the alternate? Can we think of an alternate? Yes. 70-30 that Prasanna has been talking about, or Gandhi and Kumarappa have been talking about the khadi, the distributed economy, how it can be decentralized, how it can be local, how it can be meaningful rural livelihoods, how it can be handmade is the alternate. How can this alternate survive? Even when Gandhi was projecting it as the alternate for us, as a symbol of our freedom fight, even then khadi was expensive. So why is it expensive? Because of the way it will be made. How can this be cheap? Yes, because they are cheap. They are meant to be cheap because they know how to take the money from you without you knowing. So you can buy a shirt for 300 rupees and still build a 27-floor house because there is a hidden cost there. The true costs never come out. The true cost like this will never come out. Whereas if a cotton was grown in a village and if it was hand spun here by the women there and if it was woven by the weavers locally and when it was tailored by humans there and it was brought out or it was naturally dyed there with the local resources and it was brought out as dresses, it would mean it would have touched 6 to 8 livelihoods. It would mean it is being distributed just locally. It would mean the 800 rupees that I gave went to 8 houses, 8 households, 8 women mostly. And that is why it's very important. So can we redefine? What can we do if we were all together? At least here, this lot, who can now take it to a lot more people. So we should start looking at clothing also equally or if not more than your food or anything else in the ecology and environment space. 1. 2, if you can talk with the policymakers, ensure there are policies made which will actually start correcting and questioning those mistakes, huge mistakes that are being made, the waterways and everything else that are being lost. 3, can there be policies that would also ensure there is a market from the big government side itself to ensure there is a market for these handmade products? 4, at an individual level, each of us, can we do something? Can I just buy at least one khadi or a handmade product? For sure, each of me. Can the marriages in my house be made with only handmade? Can some other event in my house be made only with this? Can this be done? Each of us, if we were creating a market within just our own area, whatever, in our own possible ways, and then if you were to guide some people for an enterprise, let it be a social enterprise. Let them just work with some handmade artisans. Let them work with the vegan. Or you just make some other product from cotton, which is just locally produced, organically by farmers. Directly take it, make earbuds. Why should Johnson & Johnson make earbuds? They've stopped making earbuds with cotton, by the way. It's polymer and with a plastic one. So you are living a long, really long enough mark on the planet. So each and every of these products can also be, there can be an alternate that can come in and there can be alternate social enterprises that we can all think of, and each of us individually can also make an impact. Don't buy chemical, can come from a different order. Don't buy synthetic clothes. Don't buy clothes. Or don't buy, I'll take the last word, synthetic. Then I'll say don't buy synthetic. Then say don't buy. And then finally, don't. So of all the R words that we all play around with, trying to play with, whenever we talk of alternate things and what we should do, 3 hours, 2 hours, 22 hours, and all that, recharge, redo, reduce, recycle. Recycle is the most humble word. It's like Monsanto telling us sustainability. Okay, recycle. So there is only one R, which is very important, refuse. Don't is the answer. If you have to, again go back to point number 1, don't. If you really have to, please see to it that it falls into at least one of these things that we were talking about as the alternate. It has to be handmade, it has to be rural, it has to be distributed, it has to be somewhere here close by, it has not to be detrimental on our ecology and environment. All these have to be important. That is the only way. When we go out today, you can just think of yourself. Hereafter, I will not do this. One thing that I will not do, one thing that I will do. That can start, and that can be the best change. Thank you.